Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here. I hope you're having a good day. Today we're going to start looking at circumference of a circle. So yesterday I had you do a circle investigation or look at a circle investigation where we sort of discovered what pi is. Now that number pi is, which we say 3.14, even though it's more than that, is the ratio of the circumference divided by the diameter. And at the end of yesterday's lesson, I showed you how you could develop an equation for pi, an equation for circumference with pi. And the equation for circumference that we use to figure out circumference of circles is you take, to figure out circumference c, it equals pi multiplied by the diameter of the circle. So to figure out the perimeter or the circumference of a circle, you just need to know the diameter. Okay. So let's do a few questions like this where we calculate the circumference of a circle. We've got a circle here. When we want to find the circumference, we want to find the distance around. We've been given that the diameter of this circle is 7 centimeters. So we know that D equals 7 centimeters. And the math equation to figure out circumference is C equals pi times diameter. So like any math equation, we substitute the values and we know C equals pi is 3.14 multiplied by 7. And when we work that out, 3.14 times 7 is 32.78. And this is centimeters. Because it's a distance around an object. It's like a perimeter. So that's how we calculate circumference. Let's do a few more questions. Number 2. We've got a circle, and the diameter of this circle is 6 centimeters. So we'll say D equals 6 centimeters. And the math equation to calculate circumference is C equals pi times diameter. C equals 3.14 multiplied by 6. And when we work that out, we get C equals 18 and 84 hundredths centimeters. It's not centimeters squared, it's just centimeters because it's not an area. It's a distance around the circle. That's what you've calculated when you've calculated the circumference. Okay, let's look at some different problems. Or a similar one, I guess. So this one, again, calculating the circumference, we've been given the diameter of 5. So D equals 5 meters. And the math equation to calculate circumference is C equals pi times diameter. C equals 3.14 multiplied by 5. Remember, we're using parentheses to show multiplication. Working down the page, C equals, and when I work that out, I get 15 and 7/10 meters. And again, it's just meters, not meters squared, because it's not an area. It's the distance around that circle. All right. Now look at this situation. What we've got here is we've got another circle, but this time we're not given the diameter. The diameter is the distance all the way across the circle through the center of the circle. This time we're given the radius. The radius is half the diameter. So this time we're given that R equals 2 centimeters. Now, in order to calculate circumference, we need the diameter. So if the radius is 2 centimeters, that means the diameter, the distance all the way across, must be 4 centimeters. So in this case, the diameter is 4 centimeters. We took the radius and doubled it. Now use the math equation for circumference. C equals pi times diameter. C equals 3.14 times 4. And C equals 12 and 56 hundredths centimeters. Okay, so this one was a little bit different. We had to figure out what the diameter was first. Okay, let's do another one. Oh, now look at this one. This one says estimate the circumference. Okay, estimate. So when we estimate, we're going to round off. So in this question, we've been given the radius, right? The radius is 3.5. So R is 3.5 meters. The diameter has to be all the way across. So that means the diameter is double that. The diameter is going to be 7 meters. So D equals 7 meters. Now, in this question it says estimate. When we're estimating, we want to stay away from decimal numbers. So in this case, we always know pi is valued at 3.14. But if we want to estimate the circumference, do some quick mental math, then we're going to want to round 3.14 to 3. So if I'm using the math equation now, C equals pi times diameter, and I'm just estimating, I would say C equals, now I would round off 3.14 to 3 because I'm estimating, and we can probably just leave the diameter as 7 because that's easy mental math. And then C equals about 21 meters. So if we want to estimate, remember, we did this earlier in the year, you want to round your decimal numbers off to whole numbers so you have really easy numbers to work with. Okay, let's look at another one. Estimate the diameter and radius of a circle with a circumference of 25.12 centimeters. All right. So we've got a circle that has a circumference of 25.12. And we want to estimate again. Estimating. So I would probably, next thing I would look at is look at pi. Well, pi is 3.14. All right. Now let's use our math equation here. C equals pi times diameter. Now, C we've said is 25.12. And pi is 3.14. And D we don't know. But check this out. What we have here is a multiplication math equation. 3.14 multiplied by the diameter gets us 25.12. But I want to estimate what the diameter is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round these numbers off. And if you remember this kind of math equation, I can solve this math equation by dividing both sides of the equal sign by the same thing. So I want to think of a number that 25.12 could be rounded to that would easily be divisible by something that's close to 3. So what if I rounded 25.12 to 24, and I rounded pi off to 3, and I would have a multiplication equation, 24 equals 3d. And then I could solve this by dividing. Divide this side by 3, this side by 3, and I would get 8 is equal to d, or more likely 8 centimeters. And remember, the diameter goes all the way through the center of the circle. So if the diameter is 8 centimeters, the radius is always half that. That means the radius would have to be half of the diameter, which is 4 centimeters. So in this one, we had to do a little bit of estimating and a little bit of using the math equation to solve a different problem. Let's try another one. Estimate the diameter and radius of a circle with a circumference of 28.26 meters. So the exact same thing here. Okay, I've got a circle that has a circumference of 28.26 meters. Okay, I know pi is 3.14 meters. And I'm going to use the math equation. Maybe I'll write the math equation like this time. Pi times d equals c. And I know pi is 3.14. I don't know what d is. And I know the circumference is 28.26. Now, we've got a multiplication math equation here. I'm going to want to divide both sides by the same number to get the value of d. But remember, this says estimate, so I'm going to round off my decimal numbers to whole numbers. I'll say this is 3 multiplied by d equals, and I want to round this number off to something that could be easily divided by 3. First number that pops into my head that's easily divisible by 3 and close to 28.26 is 27. And then to solve this now, I can divide both sides of the equation by 3, and I get d is equal to 9 meters. And if the diameter of the circle is 9 meters, then to get the radius, I do half of diameter, and the radius of the circle would be approximately 4.5 meters. Remember, since we rounded these numbers off, these are just estimates. All right, you've got a bunch of questions that we just did about circumference, both estimating and calculating, and some other questions as well. Make sure you watch this video. I'm going to give you some practice questions to do. Give them a shot. Make sure you get me on Shobi if you have any questions. The questions you do will be very much like the ones we just saw in the video. I hope you have a good day, and Flexing Teacher Weber out.